Hello everyone, welcome to our English lesson video. My name is Mr. Gias and I will be your teacher for this subject. In this video, we will be talking about three things: days of the week, times of the day, and school subjects. So, without waiting any longer, let us learn about them together. The first thing that we are going to talk about will be days of the week. As we all know, there are 7 days in a week, but how do we say them in English? If you don't know, then we will be saying them together. We'll be starting with Monday and ending it with Sunday. Ready? Let's say it together. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then Sunday. And that's all for the 7 days in a week. Now, you guys can use 7 days in a week when talking to other people or maybe your friends or your families. And since we are done talking about days of the week, let us move on to the next one, which would be times of the day. The second thing that we will be talking about in this video would be times of the day. As you all know, when you look at a clock, it'll usually show the 24-hour format or the AM and PM format. But the AM and PM format are usually confusing when the AM starts and when the PM starts. Well, in this video, we'll be talking about both of them. AM usually starts in 12 midnight all the way until 11:59 in noon, while PM starts from 12 at noon all the way until 11:59 in midnight. And as you guys have heard, I said a few things about midnight and noon, but what are they? Well, they are the generally used concepts when talking about time, like say morning, noon, evening, night. But when do they actually start? What hour do they begin? Well, there is no fixed time for this, but they do have some generally accepted period of time in a day. From morning, when the sun begins to rise, and then usually it's from 6 a.m. all the way until 9 or perhaps even 10 a.m. And then noon will begin from 10 a.m. or 9 a.m. all the way until 12 a.m., which would be noon, which is the middle of the day. And then from that will be afternoon because it's afternoon and noon is the middle of the day. So afternoon would be from 12 p.m. all the way until 3 p.m. or maybe even 4 p.m. Some might even consider it until 5 p.m. It's different depending on the person talking to it. After afternoon, it'll usually be evening, which would be the time when the sun starts to go down and then darkness starts to appear. So the time of the evening would usually be around 5 to 7 p.m., usually around that time. And after that would be called night because there will be no more sunlight. And it's usually around 7 until midnight. But some people usually like to differentiate between night and midnight, so they usually say from 7 until 10 p.m. is called night, and then from 10 to 12 would be midnight. But then what after 12 midnight? Usually people would say it is morning, even though there's no sunlight. Some people can also still use midnight or even night in general. That's just the general specification. There is no fixed rules about them. What is specific is the time in a clock. And that's all for this subject. Now, let us move on to the third one, which will be school subjects. The third thing that we will be talking about will be school subjects. Now, if you go to Google and then type in school subjects, you'll hopefully be met with this kind of layout. Now, don't worry if you don't find that kind of layout in your that's fine as well. I want to talk about will be the school subjects. Now, as you can see, there are quite a lot of school subjects if you go search for school subjects in Google. To talk about them a bit one by one. English, as you know, would be the practice of learning English language. And in English, you'll usually need to understand how to be able to hear how the word is pronounced so that you'll know what is being talked about. You'll need to be able to read the words so that you know what is being written and how to write the word, and then how to speak the words so that you know the proper pronunciation of the words. That's why I have these subtitles down here so that you will know what is the writing, what do they sound like, how to say them. And if you don't know the meaning, then you can just Google them. But usually, for my own personal preference, I would usually use DeepL, which is a more extensive translation program rather than Google Translate, because English is a contextual language. So you need the whole line rather than just a single word to be able to understand what is being talked about. Now, since we're done talking about one of them, which is English, we'll be talking about the second one, which would be math. As you know, math is short for mathematics, as you have probably already guessed. And yeah, mathematics usually is involved with numbers and stuff like addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. That's the four main components of math. And as you know, it is a very complicated school subject, and probably a lot of you don't quite like them because it's very complex. And since we're done talking about math, we'll be talking about the third one, which would be science. Now, science usually in Indonesia would be split into two, which would be natural science and then social science. What's the difference between the two? Well, natural science usually speaks about naturals, of course, and those are talking about stuff like biology, science, plants, animals, stuff in the forest or natures and stuff like that. While social science usually refers to communication, social science, relationship between the people, and other stuff. And since we're done talking about science, let us move on to the next one that you probably already know, which is physical education, or PE. Usually people say PE, but you can also just say physical education, which includes stuff like sports, like say basketball, soccer, tennis, badminton, stuff like that. Physical education usually involves the education about physical fitness, your body, how to move properly so that you don't get exhausted as fast, how to do warm-ups, how to do cooling after you work out, and stuff like that. Now, there's many other subjects that I probably didn't explain to you, and if you want to know more about them, you can just go to Google and then Google the school subjects that you want to learn. For instance, math. You can just search math school subjects on Google, and hopefully you'll find what you are looking for. For instance, what is math about? Or perhaps even something more unique, like say, music school subjects. Where to find music school subjects? Where do I learn music? What is the closest music school near me? Stuff like that. And if you didn't know the meaning of some words in this video, then you can just, like I said, go to DeepL because it is more extensive of a translation program compared to Google Translate. And that's also what I personally use for translating words that I don't know, that I don't remember the meaning of. And that will be all for this video. We've been talking about those three subjects, which would be days of the week, times of the day, and then school subjects. I will be giving all of you an assignment down below in the comment sections, and hopefully all of you will be able to do it. That's all for this video, and I'll be seeing you again next week. See you on the next English lesson video. Goodbye.